Hello, I'm Charles Kovess, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Kovess Show, whether you're watching on Rumble, on YouTube, or listening via any of the podcast platforms. This is episode 176 of this weekly program. In today's episode, I warn about the dangers to each nation's culture of the passionate activists driving the woke agenda. The woke agenda is an unacceptable, fraudulent, and, I say, evil plan to destroy Western culture. I oppose it. In my experience, many people oppose it. But most people are comfortable in the status quo, and so they say nothing. They don't fight back against the woke plan. I say that a minority of passionate woke activists will defeat a majority of a population who refuse to fight to protect and preserve their culture. This episode is a warning to you to raise your awareness about the dangers to your life and your lifestyle so that you are clearly able to think about what you are going to do. Are you going to fight to defend the culture that you like, that you want, or are you just going to capitulate to the woke agenda? Our format for the show is, firstly, I share today's big idea. Secondly, I share resources for you to implement the big idea in your life. Thirdly, I cover a few key happenings during the week. And then lastly, for newer viewers and listeners, I cover the foundational principles of this show and further details about my background. So let's go with today's big idea. I am Australasia's passion provocateur. That's because passion gives you a great ability to achieve what you want. Passionate people produce. That's my first book, because passionate people do indeed produce. We are facing a big challenge, particularly in Western nations. There are global activists, only a small number, who are deeply passionate about wokeness, about implementing the woke agenda. If they win, they will destroy Western culture. Have no doubt they are out to destroy Western culture and the whole basis of Western civilization. But most people, in my experience, are comfortable with the status quo of Western culture. They're comfortable. So who wins? The minority of passionate activists or the majority of those who are comfortable? The answer is clear. Passionate people always beat the comfortable people. And there are so many examples of that in life. I don't need to go through that, but in sports, in politics, in business, when you tap into passion, you can overcome extraordinary hurdles. And in the woke agenda, you can overcome the vast majority of people who are not interested in the woke agenda, because the woke agenda does not deal with truth, with science, with facts. It's got a game plan. It's got a game plan that has nothing to do with truth and science and facts. So let's go with this question of what is woke? What is the woke agenda? Well, the book I'm recommending this week goes through it beautifully. It's The Babylon Bee Guide to Wokeness. And the Babylon Bee, I'm a subscriber to. They're so funny, they're so ironic and cynical, and the humor that they put on matters really makes you think about matters. Well, here's the definition from the Babylon Bee Guide to Wokeness. Being woke means wokeness isn't a private religion you can keep to yourself. Once you see the world through woke eyes, you'll never be the same. What it means is realizing the problems in your life are not your fault. Finding your identity not in objective reality, but in your feelings. That's who you are, not, not any objective sense of reality. Worshipping the planet because humanity is evil. The whole transgender agenda. Rejecting organized religion and mindlessly believing the left. Finding this racism, sexism, and hatred in everything. Brainwashing your kids to hate life and be miserable. Rioting. Or, peacefully protesting in the name of justice. Never ever being satisfied and having happiness, but instead constantly complaining about everything. And lastly, becoming an absolutely horrible person to be around. Here's a picture of these definitions early in this book, The Babylon Bee Guide to Wokeness. I oppose this madness. And if you go into this book and you start to really look at the intersectionality and the gender transition and the crap that is sold in the name of humanity's future, including the fact that humanity should be removed off the planet, you'll start to understand the danger of the woke agenda. And you might think it's not a danger because there are only a minority who actually believe that way. No, the universities right around the world have been captured by this madness. Now, there's another element to wokeness, and that's the transgender movement. Even this week, the Australian Cricket Board announced that men who transition to become women can play against women in cricket, even though the International Cricket Council has said that can't happen at an international level. I say any man who transitions, who then wants to compete on sporting basis against women, is one, fraudulent, two, it's an outrage against women, and three, all of us must realise how outrageous it is and push back against it. Again, you're comfortable with it. I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to cause any waves. Good. That's what it means to be comfortable in the status quo. If you don't fight for what you've got, you will lose against the passionate woke activists. Now, on the transgender empire, there's a wonderful article in Imprimis on Hillsdale College by Christopher Rufo, and he beautifully articulates where this whole transgender agenda came from. And essentially, the evidence is absolutely clear that the woke agenda and the transgender agenda is all about destroying Western capitalist system. And Rufo says this: the trans movement was hatched then on the fringes of American academia, but how did it move so quickly to the center of American public life? Like many other things, it began with a flood of cash, as some of the wealthiest people in the country began devoting enormous sums of money to promote transgenderism. This is part of the woke agenda. One of these people is Jennifer Pritzker, who was born James Pritzker in 1950. After serving several years in the US Army, Pritzker went into business, having inherited a sizable part of the Hyatt Hotel fortune. In 2013, he announced a male-to-female gender transition and was celebrated in the press as the first trans billionaire. Almost immediately, he began donating untold millions to universities, schools, hospitals, and activist organizations to promote queer theory and trans medical experiments. This money was allied with political power, as Pritzker's cousin, Illinois Democrat Governor J.B. Pritzker, signed legislation in 2019, his first year in office, to inject gender theory into the state education curriculum. This is the stuff that's been going on, people, and you need to understand it so you can get sufficiently motivated to rise up and defend the culture that you want, the culture that you choose to have, the culture that you love. Even though it has problems, you go to this woke agenda, it will destroy that culture. It is evil, it is fraudulent, it is bad. So here's the problem. You might care about human beings, as I do. I care about all humanity. But I don't want our system destroyed. I oppose the woke agenda and all elements of it. If you are kind to people and you just let them go on with what they're doing, you will lose your culture. Have no doubt. If you don't understand the threat to your culture and you remain comfortable, you will lose your culture. If you don't fight to defend your culture, you will lose it. And that's like being attacked by a nation and by another nation and you not defending yourself. You say, I don't like going to war. Good. So what are you going to do when someone attacks you? As they are, as the woke agenda is attacking you, what do? And the truth is that you have every right to defend what you believe in. The problem is, what do you actually believe? That's the big question. I'm telling you clearly what I believe, what I stand for. You might not want a war, but you've got one. The minority, passionate, woke activists will win the war if you remain comfortable in your status quo. So let's explore some resources here to put you into a frame of mind so that you decide, maybe I do need to do something to defend. The song this week is by 5 Times August. An American singer-songwriter, Brad Skistimus, calls himself 5 Times August. Check out his website, 5timesaugust.com. This song is a beautiful song called Fight for You. And there are two elements to it. You fight for your children, because if you don't preserve the culture, your children will suffer. Your grandchildren will suffer. You might even lose the ability to have coffee because that might not be on the woke agenda. I love it. But the words of this song, beautiful. Through the madness and the lies, perfectly appropriate to this, as they're holding back the truth. That's what they're doing with the transgender. That's what they're doing, the woke agenda. No matter what they try, I will always fight for you. Through the madness and the lies, as they're holding back the truth, no matter what they try, I will always fight for you. I will save your innocence they are trying to remove. I am here at your defense, and I will always fight for you. In the battle on the field, there is evil on the move, but I hope that you can feel that I will always fight for you. In the darkness of the times, there's a light that shines the proof. It'll soon reveal the crimes, so I won't stop this fight for you. Have a listen to that song. It's a powerful, powerful, very moving song. The book, as I said, is The Babylon Bee Guide to Wokeness. Please get hold of it. My health tip. During the week, I'm in many meetings. I talk to a lot of people. I urge you to set up your alternative health solutions. You cannot just rely on the medical system. That is a bad decision. There are many alternatives available to you. There are new communities that you can join. Do not rely on the existing pharmaceutical medical system alone. It is fantastic if you have a bad car accident, if you have a bad football injury, if you're burnt in a fire. It's terrific, but not much more. It is good in trauma, but not for much more. My spiritual tip is to clarify your own philosophy, because your philosophy is part of your spiritual existence. Clarify your spiritual philosophy on wokeness, because when you say, I'm opposed, like Charles, to wokeness, then when anyone tries to promote wokeness, you speak up against it. And one of the ways to do that is go to your local school and oppose any nonsense around transgender principles, around treating boys who transition as girls. It is evil and is fraudulent. So Are you deeply concerned about this, or are you just going to let this go? That's part of your philosophy. My quote this week, I'm going to quote myself, my definition of passion, because we're talking about passionate activists, okay? Well, from my book, Passionate People Produce, my definition of passion is that it's a source of unlimited energy from your soul, your spirit, your heart that enables you to produce extraordinary results. Okay, unlimited energy. That's what these woke activists have, unlimited energy to fight this fight. Plus, they're getting funding from people with an evil agenda, including the Pritzkers, as you heard me mention. Right, so tap into your passion to fight for the culture that you want, that you are comfortable in now. Get passionate to defend it. And for some humour, I'm going to go back to the Babylon Bee Guide to Wokeness, and there's a whole glossary of terms here. This will seriously make you laugh. Like it is amazing. And it's all about whole new languaging. Okay? So anti-fascism is the act of beating people senseless with bike locks to defeat fascism. Cancelling. You've heard about people being cancelled because they're not woke. The whole Hollywood game plan is about cancelling. Mel Gibson cancelling the sacred ritual of shunning those who deny the doctrines of our righteous movement. Shun the non-believer. Another one, climate justice. This will make you laugh. The act of living in mud huts and eating bugs until the cancer of humanity is extinguished and Mother Gaia can live on. Also, any tax can be considered climate justice. Communism. Basically, it's loving people and sharing with them, just like the Care Bears taught. It's the greatest system ever invented. This is the crap that is sold. Makes you laugh. That's what the Babylon Bee does. Laugh at this and then properly assess it. So, take the resources that I've shared with you. Take today's big idea to deeply think about what you're going to do to preserve the culture that you might presently love. Why in Australia? Because that's the culture that we've got. People come to Australia. Our population was 5 million at the end of World War II. It's now 26 million. People come here because it's a great place to be because of our culture. And yet there are people out there to destroy this culture. How do you want your life to be? How do you want the nation in which you live to be? My aim for this show is to inspire you, provoke you, motivate you, educate you to get ever more clear about what matters to you in your life. I invite you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Rumble channel, to share it, or the podcast, to share it with your family, your friends, and your work colleagues. Please visit our websites, covest.com, charlescovest.com. And my books, Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance, are available at those websites. Now, let's have a review of key happenings on the planet over the past week. The first thing is my TNT radio program that used to be on a Saturday, Melbourne time, is now on Sunday evening. So I normally record this show on a Sunday morning, so I can't tell you what the show was yesterday, but I can tell you what's coming up. But then when you hear this or see this, it may well have already occurred. So this week's episode, because with TNT Radio, you can always watch every single replay of the show. Every show I've done since January 2022. We're nearly coming up to 2 years. Guest is Victor Purton, who is the expert on optimism. I've had him as a guest before. We're also going to talk about geopolitical issues and the threats of that to your level of optimism, particularly when you take into account what's happening in Israel and Gaza, the global threats that the elites are trying to make you really scared about. Victor has some great ideas on how do you stay optimistic in challenging times. The Victorian government, a total basket case economically. It's got such a huge debt bomb. The auditor of the state's finances has come out and says that the government doesn't even have a plan to start to reduce the debt. These debt burdens, you all know, they eventually come home to roost. Victoria is a basket case. Its government is a basket case. Jacinta Allen, the new premier replacing dictator Dan Andrews, she has no idea of business, has never been in business in her life. Dictator, nor had Daniel Andrews. He's now gone off into the sunset, but I've got a mission on to track his every movement. I want to make sure that he does not get retained by any company and earn money for it. He is not to be trusted. He is a corrupt politician. He is the worst politician in Victoria's history. Do not let politicians like this get away, go off in the sunset, get their superannuation payments, retirement benefits, and act like they've done a good job. He has done an absolute disaster of a job for this state. He must not be rewarded for so doing. The last issue I want to mention is on the Israel-Gaza fight. The anti-Semitism is rising. It's a game plan by the elites to cause humanity to fight amongst each other. The way we defeat the elites is for human beings, men and women, to unite against the elites, to not buy into the artificial wars that are created. There's a wonderful video called All Wars Are Bankers' Wars. I now believe that. We are sold that this is all about fighting for freedom, for truth and justice. And in many cases, it is portrayed like that, but it's manipulated by the bankers. It's a very salutary video worth watching. All wars are bankers' wars. In the meantime, Julie and I are having a wonderful time together, so there are pretty serious issues I'm talking about today, but on a moment-by-moment basis, I promise you I'm happy, Julie's happy, we're happy together. I'm maintaining my nutritional program, my exercise program, as is Julie. That's what you have to do so that you can remain strong mentally, physically, spiritually. If you're new to the show, stick around for the last part for the foundational principles of the show and further details about my background. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great week. Discover ever more how much you're passionate about and what you're passionate about. And look forward to being with you next week. Bye for now. And now, for viewers and listeners who want to know more about my background and what else I do with my life, as well as the foundational principles of the show, here we are. Since 1993, when I left my legal career, a career that I love, to become Australasia's passion provocateur, I have inspired and provoked and educated and motivated people all over the world to discover and pursue their passion. I have helped people via the books that I've written, via speeches at conferences, via in-depth team building programs, workshops over 1, 2 or 3 days, or over 3 months, 6 months. And I've coached people of all ages, one-on-one, from small, medium and large enterprises, government enterprises, helping them to identify the often tiny changes that can make a massive difference. One of my core principles is that freedom is what makes us truly human. That's why one of the greatest threats that government imposes on you to force you to observe its laws is the threat of imprisonment, the loss of your freedom. Just think about that. Government says if you don't behave yourself, we're going to put you in jail. No, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to lose my freedom. That's a reminder to you of why freedom is so important. Without freedom, you and I are not much different to animals. If you were locked up in a cage for the rest of your life, how different would you be to an animal? This commitment to fighting for freedoms for all people is carried out by me primarily through 5 channels. Number 1, preserving the freedom to pursue your passion. Number 2, inspiring you to be able to be free through excellent health. Number 3, helping preserve freedom throughout the world through the expansion of industrial hemp, a magnificent agricultural crop, an almost miraculous crop that enables every community to thrive independently of government. In this way, the power of government to take away freedom is minimized. Number 4, fighting for freedom through legal strategies. So I do work as a legal strategy consultant, as an interface between clients and their lawyers. And number 5, as chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy and as a board member of the Australian Cartoon Museum, fighting for the freedom of thought and speech through uncensored comedy and humour, through avoiding political correctness in the comedic space. When you block freedom of speech, freedom of thought, that's the beginning of the end of your freedoms. The foundational principles for the Charles Covess Show are founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Your self-awareness added to your passion will guarantee that you are successful. And the best definition of success I have found in life is that success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideals. The progressive realization of your worthy ideals. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous principle and quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You can see I'm wearing my red jacket. I wear my red jacket for all my shows. Red is the colour of passion, so that when you see me on the YouTube version, it reminds you that when you see red in your life, you ask yourself the question, am I pursuing my passion? What am I passionate about? Am I still passionate about that? What might I newly be passionate about? Each week I explore one big idea that can change your life. And it's just one big idea because there's a chance you will remember it. If I give you too many ideas, then we get confused and we don't do anything. Clarity leads to power. Confusion kills passion. Each week I share simple and practical resources that you've heard me describe in the earlier part of the show. A spiritual tip, a health tip, lyrics of a song, a book, a quote, and of course humour. This show is not politically correct. I have no intention of being politically correct. And I love certain addictions, including my addiction to great coffee, my addiction to exercise, my addiction to reading, and my addiction to certain other unmentionable in public type behaviours. Who would know what they are? This show definitely subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. So if you don't like discussion of spirituality, this show is not for you. I promise you that I don't include anything in this show that I don't consider to be true and that I have not found to be useful in the work that I've done over the past 28 years, but also over the past 50 years in business, as a lawyer, as a consultant advisor. I only want to share stuff with you that is of value to you. Finally, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact me at charles@covess.com. Again, thanks for watching and listening to my show. Bye.